What's good, YouTube? It's Nelson bringing you the second episode in the Road to Pro series that I started and I uploaded for my first YouTube video. If you guys saw that, you know that it's a pretty cool video, cool series I did that I took from Sharp, and he said I could do this series, and it's actually a pretty good story that I'm telling. I think every pro should do this, just so you guys can see like how I made it and how like everything that happened in my career, and it's just pretty interesting. But yeah, basically where we left off in the last episode, in episode 1, I basically ended at where me and Suddenly Famous, the team that I begged to play with on game battles, ended up winning this LAN in MW3. So that's where we left off. You guys can watch the video on my channel if you haven't. This is the first video that you've seen in the series. This is only the second one, so you might want to watch the first one before watching this one, because it is a story and you gotta, go from video to video to understand where we're at. So basically after this, I went home, and this was the end of MW3, so I finished the game, like, playing Variant. I was getting a whole lot better at Respawn, and still on a smaller scale compared to, like, the pros, but I was still had an understanding. I ran a sub now, where I transitioned into kind of the player I am today, but I still had so much to go. So I basically just got the basis that I was going to grind with, ran a sub. I felt like that was the best role for me, and this was MW3 still. And after the game, after MW3 going into Black Ops 2, me and my real life friends, and it's kind of crazy because everyone in my town and in my area where I live plays competitive or knows about competitive, plays GB. So in school, like, I played with a lot of players in my school and the other schools in the town. I played game battles and started a team with some of them, and I don't know the exact players, but it was a mix of my real life friends. The only person I know that I team with 100% was my friend Jimmy, who went by Fearless at the time, and he still plays today, and he wins a few S&D tournaments. But we haven't played in so long together, like teaming wise. This was Black Ops 2. So in Black Ops 2, we teamed and we scrimmed and we played game battles, and this was when I was getting a little bit better. This was when I could, I was doing well in scrim. This was when I started scrimming for the first times, really. And then 1-8's lobby, it was kind of the beginning of the game, not really. It was a few months in. I met this guy named Jester, and at the time, like, Jester was kind of not really as known, but Jester was definitely a few steps ahead of me in terms of skill, knowing the right players. Like, Jester had been playing for a few CODs now, so he's had the experience, been competing, he's been to events in Black Ops 1, so he was like that kind of role model almost, because he was a lot older than me. I wasn't even 18 at the time. This was when I was maybe 15, 16 maybe. Yeah, I think I was 16 actually when I met Jester. So I was 16, and he was like, I'm not too sure. He might have been 20. He was definitely older than me by a lot, and he was, that veteran type of player. He's never really been pro, but he's been close to it a few times. He's just a good player. Not really a top AM, but he's just a good player. So I really liked him. I really, thought that we could do really well together. And in COD, it's all about playing with people that's better than you. I always felt like I should be the worst on the team, because if I'm the worst on the team, then I feel like, I'm, decent. So we can only be better if I'm the worst on the team, because I know I'm going to improve every day. So that was the mindset I had. So we ended up playing an 8's lobby or something together, and he told me about, that's how I met him. He's like, yeah, I live in North Carolina too. There's a local LAN in Tennessee that's coming up. If you want to go, I have 2 guys, PV and Stitch, that we can go with. I used to team with Stitch in Black Ops 1 on my team. So I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds cool. I've never been to a LAN before, like traveled to one, and this is a local LAN that, I'd have to. Well, Jester lived in North Carolina, so we all ended up road tripping there. This was, a pretty big deal for me, because I'd have to stay in a hotel. I never stayed in a hotel for a gaming event before, because the MW3 tournament, you guys remember, was in my town, and it was kind of big, but it was still in my town, so I went home that night, stayed at my house, every night of the LAN. But this is where I'd have to travel to, out of state, stay in a hotel room, and at this LAN, I think Colchan and Sharp had a team going with Vicento, and they weren't really as known players at the time. They were Sharp obviously was a pro, but, Colshan and Vicento were kind of just on their come up at the time. So, it was kind of pretty good competition, and I knew who they were at the time. They were still, like, top players kind of in their own regards. So I knew who they were, because because I had seen them at another little local LAN in my town, and they lived in this area of the Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia area. So they used to go to these LANs, and basically we ended up getting third, I'm pretty sure, at this local LAN. I think we lost to Sharps team, and then another good Tennessee team at the time called Avert. They were kind of randoms too, but they were actually a pretty good local squad there, so I think they got second. Sharps team won it. They won a lot then, back then, because there wasn't really that much good comp. It was basically my team that was like the comp, and like that's kind of, whatever, because that was really my first ever LAN. So we got third. I played decently, but I felt like I could definitely get better. Same with my teammates. I really liked playing with Jester. Jester, honestly, man, I owe a lot of things in my COD career to Jester. Jester definitely has done a lot for me in and out of game that I can't even put in words how much I appreciate him. We've spent a lot of time together. But in Black Ops 2, after that, I've never been to a major before. And that would literally blow my mind if I thought about going to a major. I didn't even think about it because it was just, that'd be crazy if I got to the point where I felt like I could compete at a major event, like a major UMG or MLG event. And I think in Black Ops 2, then Dallas passed. I didn't go to that, but we wanted to go to UMG Atlanta so bad. And this was in the summertime, and we got a squad assembled. And, we had a pretty decent team going to Atlanta. This is what I grind months for. This is what I really wanted to do, was go to Atlanta in Black Ops 2. And I felt like we had a decent roster to do it. And this is where I've been putting months into grinding competitive. Just months. My first competitive COD, I've been grinding. So we ended up having the team of myself, Jester, Stitch, and it was the same local team. We ended up replacing PV with a guy named Disturbed, who was kind of like a good player. He was kind of known in his own regard in the AMs in the AMs, top AMs, whatever you would want to classify him as. He wasn't really, a superstar by any means, but he was more well known than us and a little bit better than us. So we're like, oh sweet, we got him as our fourth. We'll definitely do pretty good this time. It's my first major. We all drove together again, me, Stitch, and Jester, and that's why I really owe a lot of my success to them, because I would never be able to go to those events if it wasn't for them. Now, this was my first event. This was my first time seeing pros. I remember going to the event, just driving. I was just so excited. I didn't know what to expect, to see all these people that I've been playing against, online, and all these, pros. I didn't know what to expect, seeing all these different types of players there. I don't think Optic was there at this one. This was the one event that Optic wasn't at. I think Optic was the only team that missed, maybe another team. But I saw basically 99% of the pro players, and it was just a crazy experience for me seeing all those people there. And Atlanta was a crazy time. I don't know if you guys remember Atlanta, but that was when the whole Killa and the wooing and then all the trash talking from just about every pro team. It was just a crazy event. It was just, for my first ever event, that's what really wanted me to play COD after going to my first event. I learned so much just watching, talking to people. The whole weekend just consisted of Call of Duty. Non-stop Call of Duty with people that you play with all the time. And we ended up doing really well. I remember our first round, we ended up playing Lynx, who was a future teammate of mine, but this is how I met Lynx. We ended up playing Lynx's team first round, and Lynx ended up getting 9th at COD Champs with Goonjar. He got 9th at Dallas with Goonjar, he was on that donut shop team. But this was a different squadron for Atlanta that he had. He wasn't teaming with Goonjar or anybody. We ended up playing Lynx's team first round, and my team won last map 5-5. It was crazy. Lynx lost. He was so mad. And that's how I met Lynx. It was pretty crazy. Lynx dropped a stealth chopper in S&D, I'm pretty sure, for the loss. It was kind of crazy. Lynx was a beast at that game. But that's a different episode I'm going to talk about when I team with Lynx. But we ended up beating Lynx's team, and then I think our next round we actually ended up playing on main stage against Envious, and my team name was Thrust at the time as Keemstars Org. We were just, I guess he just gave us a team pass and said have at it, or just that we could use a name. I'm not too sure. Because we were a random team at the time, but we were a Thrust team. And we ended up, playing Envious on main stage. We lost 2-0, but I played really well. And considering the fact that that was my first major, I think that every single time I went to a lane, I got better at, and I feel wow, I'm gonna keep competing because I'm only getting better. The event was pretty well. We ended up placing 17th. It was a fun time. But this is where I'm going to stop the video at today. We ended up ending at 17th at UMG Atlanta. So I'm going to continue this story tomorrow. But thanks for watching, guys, and as always, peace.